There is a quiet moment that changes an empath forever. It doesn't happen during an argument. It doesn't happen after reading a book or hearing motivational advice. It happens in silence, after giving too much for too long. One day, the empath realizes something painful. No matter how much they sacrifice, it is never enough for the people who only know how to take. This realization is not the end of kindness. It is the beginning of wisdom. Many empaths spend years believing that love means fixing everyone, understanding everyone, and carrying burdens that were never theirs. They become experts at reading facial expressions, sensing emotional tension, and avoiding conflict before it even begins. To others, this looks like compassion. But beneath the surface, something else is happening. They slowly disappear. Every time they ignore their own needs to keep someone else comfortable, they trade a piece of themselves for temporary peace. At first, they barely notice it. Then one day they look in the mirror and wonder why they feel emotionally exhausted despite always trying to do the right thing. The answer is surprisingly simple. You cannot build a meaningful life while constantly abandoning yourself. People-pleasing often begins with good intentions. You want harmony. You want people to feel accepted. You don't want anyone to experience the pain you once felt. But when your worth depends on keeping everyone happy, your identity slowly becomes controlled by other people's expectations. Without realizing it, your life no longer belongs to you. This is where everything begins to change. The empath starts noticing patterns they ignored for years. They see who only calls when they need something. They notice who mistakes kindness for weakness. They realize some people apologize only because they expect endless forgiveness, not because they have truly changed. The truth becomes impossible to ignore. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. At first, this realization feels cruel. The empath questions themselves. Am I becoming selfish? Am I losing my compassion? No, they are finally learning the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. Real compassion does not require destroying yourself to save someone else. It is possible to care deeply while refusing to carry responsibilities that were never yours. The strongest people are not those who say yes to everything. They are the ones who know when no is an act of self-respect. This is why boundaries feel so uncomfortable for empaths. For years, they confused guilt with love. Every boundary felt like rejection. Every disagreement felt like failure. Every disappointed person made them question their own character. But guilt is not always a sign that you are doing something wrong. Sometimes guilt is simply the feeling of breaking an unhealthy pattern. The moment an empath accepts this, life begins to transform. They stop explaining themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them. They stop chasing approval from those who never intended to give it. They stop apologizing for protecting their peace. Something remarkable happens next. Their relationships become smaller, but stronger. The people who valued only their endless giving quietly disappear. Those who truly care remain, because genuine relationships do not depend on constant self-sacrifice. They are built on mutual respect, honesty, and emotional responsibility. The empath also begins seeing another truth. Not every emotional reaction belongs to them. For years, they absorbed the moods, anger, and fears of everyone around them. Now they understand that another person's disappointment does not automatically become their responsibility. Another person's expectations do not define their purpose. This realization feels like taking a full breath after years of holding it in. For the first time, they experience peace without needing everyone's permission. Ironically, this is when they become even more compassionate. Not because they give more, but because what they give comes from freedom instead of fear. They help because they choose to. They love without losing themselves. They listen without carrying another person's entire emotional world. That is emotional maturity. The greatest truth an empath eventually discovers is not that the world is full of selfish people. It is that they spent too long believing their value depended on being needed. But your value was never measured by how much you sacrificed. It was always found in who you truly are. When you stop living for approval, you begin living with clarity. When you stop fearing rejection, you finally become authentic. And when you stop pleasing everyone, you don't lose yourself. You meet yourself for the very first time. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel for more deep psychological reflections. Your greatest transformation begins the moment you choose truth over approval.